Everyone uses AI to build shiny new apps from scratch. But can it help you tackle a messy legacy code base?
Absolutely. It completely changes how you tackle old code. And we've got a few strategies today to make it painless.
Welcome back, JK. Please remind viewers what you do.
Good to see you again, Martin. I'm currently working with 2 startups on Google Cloud, helping them grow and scale, building another startup with a co-founder, and squeezing in a few projects. It's a busy time.
Yeah, sounds like you have a lot going on. So let's talk about the nightmares of legacy code. 0 docs, complex data flows, and 0 tests.
I've worked with way too many projects like that. It can be overwhelming at first, but here's the good part. AI is surprisingly good at tracing data across complex systems. If you make a field required on the front end, the agent can instantly trace that back through to the APIs down to the database, and it can update all the code along that path.
That's great for adding a new field. But how do you even begin getting to understand a massive, unfamiliar code base?
Well, my favorite approach is to take a change request driven approach. You just learn the code base organically, block by block, only when you need to change something. I think of it in 3 steps: plan, execute, and verify.
All right, I love lists of 3. So first was the planning step. What happens there?
Well, you have to prepare the sandbox first. And my golden rule is document your local setup in a README. If your agent knows exactly how to run your local tools, like your compiler, your linter, your unit tests, all of it, you unlock a tight feedback loop. The agent can try out dozens of different code changes, run the tests, catch syntax errors, and autocorrect itself in real time, completely on its own without you having to step in and play the umpire.
I like that.
This also gives you 2 side benefits. First, if you use Docker, it acts as a disposable sandbox where the AI can make a mess without breaking anything, and you can wipe it clean with 1 command. Second, you get solid documentation out of the box, and it stays up to date and makes onboarding new human teammates much easier.
That's a double win. So once the sandbox is ready, what's next?
Well, whenever I use tools like the anti-gravity IDE or CLI, I always switch on planning mode first. Instead of letting the AI jump right in straight to the coding, I have it do some recon. I'll tell it something like, explore the code base and show me what files, APIs, or database tables will break if we push this. And it maps the entire blast radius before you even touch a line of code.
That's smart. And once you have that list, what then?
That's when I treat the AI like a human coworker. If you and I were working on a code base together, for example, we wouldn't just hand each other a specification and start typing. We talk things through and maybe bounce ideas back and forth. Same thing with an AI agent. I treat it like a coworker, not an automated typewriter just yet.
Not just yet. And what kind of prompts do you use for that, JK?
Well, sticking with the rule of 3, there are some prompting rules that I use across different scenarios. On discussing new features, ask for options. Have the AI generate 3 different architectural designs and then ask it to critique its own plans first. You can even ask it to give you the one it prefers. Then let it grill you. Force the agent to ask you questions to smoke out requirements that you might not have thought about. And when you're squishing bugs, explain the problem clearly and give a concrete example or 2 of what should happen instead of this. Ask the AI to write the failing test to verify that it understands the problem. It's really helpful in that scenario.
Very good. All right. So after the plan stage comes execute. And now it's time to modify some code in our legacy code base. How do you do that?
Well, as you might have guessed, I like to do 3 things. The first is to manage the context. The second is to lead with tests. And lastly, agent rules.
Another list of 3s. I love it. So how do you manage the context?
Well, I try to keep the conversation about a single change really focused. AI agents can easily lose the forest for the trees in long multi-hour chat sessions. So for big changes, I'll break it down into subtasks. I do the first one, then get a quick summary of what's changed and feed that summary into the next task. I keep a running file, like a markdown file or something like that, of the whole feature. And it acts as like a checklist of what's been done and what's still to do. It keeps both me and the agent focused on the current task.
Got it. And next you said, next on your list was leading with tests.
Yeah, Test-driven development or behavior-driven development keeps agents honest. I use pro models to draft the acceptance criteria and the tests if there's not enough information in the ticket. And then I'll hand the execution off to a cheaper model like Flash to write the code. Once the tests turn green, I move on. And you can easily parallelize this work out to speed things up even more.
Very nice. And last on your list, agent rules.
Agent rules, that's right. It's probably the most important one, I think. Agent rules let you define how an AI behaves when working with you or the team. You can teach it your standard workflow, like write the tests first, or check that the app builds, and certain hard boundaries like never commit without permission. That way, it stays aligned with your working standards on every piece of work. This is especially important when working in a team on legacy code.
Great. AI agents hallucinate though. So I guess that's why you added the verify step. How do you keep the agent from shipping bugs to production?
Yeah, that's right. I use a 3-layer filter, or rule of threes. First, human reviewer. Clean code is for future humans and AIs. Second, a CI/CD AI review. Another model reviews the PR, and the original agent defends its choices. Third, smoke tests. Automate deployments to staging and then click through it to make sure it's behaving as you expect.
Very good. That was a lot of good info. Now, what are the takeaways, JK?
Well, I've got another list of 3 for you, Martin. Here are my top 3 rules for tackling legacy code with AI. First, document your tools in a README and use planning mode. Set your tools in a README so that the agent can self-correct and treat it like a coworker. Second, write tests first and set agent rules. Break big changes into tiny subtasks and write BDD or TDD tests before implementation so that the agent doesn't write its own exam. And use project rules as automatic guardrails to run your linters. And third, build a 3-layer filter. Never let AI ship directly to production. You can use manual diff reviews, secondary CI/CD AI checks, and real-world smoke tests in staging.
Those 3 rules turn a scary legacy project into a predictable process.
Exactly. Writing code is cheap now, but building great software is still expensive and requires real design. That loop of planning, testing, and talking with your agent, that's your new superpower.
Thanks for sharing this with us, JK. So I actually have to add a feature to some legacy code next week, and I'll be putting this new superpower to the test.
Best of luck with that, Martin. Let me know how it goes. Thanks for having me.
Will do. And thank you everyone for watching. If you have any questions for JK or me, please let us know in the comments. Also, do let me know what you thought of today's episode. I read every single comment. Until next time.